Minwei Chi Nan. Chapter 51. Give Miss Wei a like. Qin Mian absent-mindedly replied with, "All right." When he returned to his senses, he slapped Zhang Lu on his head, at a loss on whether to cry or laugh. "Young man, how dare you trick your boss?" Wang Shun also looked at him with eager eyes. Qin Mian thought for a moment before saying, "All right. The shop's business is good, and the two of you and the barbecue chef are doing well. This way, your boss and I will invite you three to have dinner in the shop on the evening of every first, such as the first day of the month, the 11th and the 21st. Wang Shun and Zhang Lu were so happy that they quickly expressed their thanks and flattered Qin Mian. The spicy hot soup, barbecue, and hot pot in the shop were so delicious that once they ate it, they wanted more. Lai Tie coughed lightly as he swept a quick glance at them. Wang Shun and Zhang Liu's backs felt chills on their backs. They quickly left and continued to be busy. They were not afraid of the big boss, but the small boss struck their hearts with veneration and fear. Lai Tie poured the spicy hot soup that had just cooked into a bowl and put it on the counter. Qin Mian took a look and saw spinach, meatballs, mutton, mushrooms and potatoes, all of which he loved to eat. "Don't be too nice to them." "Ah." Chuan Mian bit half a ball and looked at him stupidly. Lai Tie didn't continue talking and merely watched him. Qin Mian smiled. He picked up a bamboo stick, poked a meatball from the bowl and handed it to him while beaming with smiles. Lai Tie reached for it, turned back and returned to the pot. Over at the barbecue area, the chef yelled, "Barbecue at table 2 is ready." A busy and fulfilling day passed just like that. Meanwhile, on the side of the old house, trouble had just begun. In the house, Du Shi was desperate and quarreled with Lei Daqiang until Lei Daqiang got a headache and gave her a slap as he reached the end of his patience. Du Shi's left face was red and swollen that she did not dare to go out of the house. She lay down on the bed and cried bitterly. Lei Xiangren, Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli were helpless in the face of this conflict between their parents. On one hand, they pitied their mother. On the other hand, based on matchmaker Jin's words, they thought it was not a bad thing for Miss Wei to join their household. However, the main point was that Lei Daqiang was their father, the elder that they had to respect. As the younger generation, it was improper for them to intervene in the elder's marital affairs. As for Zhao Shi and Qian Shi, they did not even have the right to. Meanwhile, Lei Chun Tao was a girl who had yet to marry, so it was also improper for her to intervene. In other words, the people in the old house had forgotten about Lai Tie and Qin Mian. On the day of his appointment with matchmaker Jin, Lei Daqiang cleaned himself up appropriately and came to the town. When he was near the appointed tea house, he didn't enter the door but went to a stall that sold dishware on the opposite side according to the agreement, pretended to choose dishware and looked up to the other side. He saw matchmaker Jin dressed in red and looked across from her. His heart suddenly jolted. Facing matchmaker Jin was a gentle and graceful maiden dressed in blue. She was indeed about 26 to 27 years old. Her looks could not be regarded as beautiful, but she was pretty indeed and her eyes were especially lively. When she spoke to matchmaker Jin, she wore a smile on her face and her smile was very natural and poised. From the movement of her occasionally raising hand and nodding of her head, he could feel a kind of swift strength. She was a really nice woman. Such a young and pretty maiden could indeed be regarded as too good of a match for him. Lei Daqiang's heart was burning now. Matchmaker Jin looked at the sun and then looked at the stall opposite. She confirmed that Lei Daqiang had already appeared and nodded to Wei Wei. Wei Wei followed her eyes and looked at the other side. The man by the stand was really a bit old, but she didn't care. She looked at the man's facial features and was quite surprised. Matchmaker Jin told her that Lei Daqiang must have been very handsome when he was young, but she was skeptical. However, she had to believe it when she saw him with her own eyes. Her heart was slightly relieved. It was fine to marry an old man, but it would be too miserable if the man was intolerably ugly. Fortunately, Lei Daqiang did not let her down. When she took back her gaze, matchmaker Jin nodded to Lei Daqiang. Lei Daqiang left first. He was too excited, feeling as if his feet were stepping on cotton. However, there was some anxiety as he worried that Miss Wei would not like him. I can tell that Lei Daqiang's body and health are still good. I'm afraid that Du Shi bears most of the responsibility for the reason why his body is too thin. When Du Shi was brought up, matchmaker Jin's face showed disdain. According to the people in their village, the Lei family only serves 2 dishes for each meal and they don't put much oil in it. They also don't have many chances to eat meat throughout the year. Which village in our town lacks a few poor families? But there's none like them. It's fortunate that I don't say it, or it would be a joke for no reason. Wei Wei picked up the teapot, poured a cup of hot tea for her and said with a smile, I've heard that Granny Jin never talk empty words when acting as a matchmaker. I, myself trust Granny Jin wholeheartedly. Matchmaker Jin was very puzzled. Based on your qualifications, it's really unlikely to find someone that old, is it worth the trouble? She had a good impression of Wei Wei, so she couldn't help but made a few comments. Wei Wei nonchalantly smiled and didn't mind telling her, some people had introduced a few men to me. Among them, 1 was a cripple and 2 wanted a second wife, 1 has a 6-year-old son, the other has an 8-year-old son. Children at 6 and 8 years old already remember things and can only remember how good their birth mothers were. It would be even more difficult for me to cultivate feelings with them after I join the household. If I'm a little careless, I'll be someone neither inside nor outside. Is it worth the trouble that I come here? Although Lei Daqiang is a bit older, his children are already at an age to understand that they and I just need to be on courteous terms. If I help them to make more money, then they won't necessarily decline being good towards me. Moreover, from what you said, Du Shi is a failure. As long as I hold Lei Daqiang's heart close and have children with him, even if he can only live for another 20 years, I'll have my own children to rely on in the future. Whether my children are married in or married out, they'll be no worse than his children. Matchmaker Jin secretly admired her. She has proven herself to have been in service of reputable people as it turns out, she had already taken a lot of things into consideration. Since the other person was willing, she certainly would not object. In that case, I won't say anything more. Today I'll go to the Lei family's house to inform that you have agreed and discuss the next step. Thanks for your trouble, Granny. Wei Wei smiled confidently. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. 2 days later, Qin Mian received the exact news. The matter of Lei Daqiang and Wei Wei had been settled. Lei Daqiang was not only willing to marry Wei Wei as his legitimate wife but was so eager to do so that they had already set the wedding date on the 18th day of the 11th month. Qin Mian was beyond excited when he thought that Du Shi would soon have a strong opponent. At the beginning, he disguised himself to find a matchmaker and asked her to find Lei Daqiang, an assertive woman, to be his legitimate wife. His purpose was only to contain Du Shi, he had no other intentions. Moreover, he specially told matchmaker Jin that the woman must have a good heart. Sure enough, matchmaker Jin had the ability to find Wei Wei. According to matchmaker Jin, Miss Wei was indeed a competent person. As long as Du Shi, Lei Xiangren, and the others were behaving themselves, Wei Wei might be able to let the people in the old house live a good life. Besides, it was Wei Wei's own free will. Qin Mian had nothing to feel guilty about and just have to wait to watch the drama unfold. Du Shi completely had no free time to find trouble with him and Lei Tie. Every day, in addition to quarreling with Lei Daqiang, she cursed Wei Wei. It was unknown how rowdy the old house would be in the future. Without Lei Daqiang and Du Shi taking the initiative, Lei Xiangren, Zhao Shi, and Qian Shi also temporarily stopped thinking about how to bother Lei Tie. Qin Mian disguised himself again and paid the balance of the payment to matchmaker Jin. From beginning to end, apart from Lei Tie and Qin Mian himself, no one knew that it was Qin Mian who had enabled Lei Daqiang to marry a beautiful young wife. 2 days later, Lei Xiangli and Lei Xiangji came to the shop together, their expressions looked a bit distressed. Degur. The two didn't call Qin Mian eldest sister-in-law in front of outsiders, making Qin Mian breathe a sigh of relief. You two came. It's almost noon, have you eaten yet? No yet, Lei Xiongji said with a smile, Sigur and I came here to eat. Qin Mian also smiled, you're welcome. Would you like spicy hot soup or barbecue? If you want to eat hot pot, you have to wait for a while to be seated. Lei Xiongli said, I'll eat spicy hot soup then. Lei Xiongji said, I'll have the same as Sigur. Go pick your dishes first and let Lei Tie simmer them. Qin Mian asked Zhang Lu to move 2 stools and put them at the counter. When the two picked out the dishes, Qin Mian said, if you two have nothing to do, help in the shop in the afternoon. We are having hot pot or barbecue in the evening. Sure, Lei Xiongli said with a smile, I'll listen to your arrangement. Lei Xiongji pulled at his clothes, of course we'll help, I purposely wore stain-resistant clothes. Qin Mian said, actually, your Dagger and I have planned to invite you to have a meal, but you know what's going on, so I won't say more. When you go back in the evening, bring a pot of soup and some dishes for the family to taste. Lei Xiongli lightly sighed, we understand. You and Dagger can be at ease. Based on your expression, is there something wrong at home? Qin Mian could guess what they were coming for and pretended not to know. At those words, Lei Tie lowered his head while cooking the spicy hot soup and then looked at the innocent and confused expression of his little wife. The corners of his lips rose into an imperceptible curve. Lei Xiongji and Lei Xiongli knew that talking with Qin Mian is the same as talking with Lei Tie. Therefore, they didn't hold back, do you and Dagger know about father? Qin Mian nodded and added in his mind, not do only I know about it, but it is also my doing. I see. This matter. We, the younger generation, have no right to say anything. Lei Xiongji sighed, mother makes trouble at home every day and because of the constant quarreling, Sigur and myself got headaches. So, we might as well come to see you and Dagger. In my opinion, since this matter has become a foregone conclusion, it's useless to oppose it anymore. Why should mother act thus? Qin Mian acted as if he was concerned about Du Shi. I'm afraid that if she goes on like this, father will feel vexed with her. Si Lang, Wu Lang, you two should persuade her when you have the chance. Family harmony is the basis for success in any undertaking. Eldest sister-in-law was a good person. Lei Xiongli and Lei Xiongji looked at each other. They both secretly regretted that the family separation happened too early. If it weren't for their mother who was too much. Alas, it was too late to say anything now. It's just that I still don't understand. How did Miss Wei take a liking to father? All this while, this was the thing that Lei Xiongji couldn't get over with. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 52. Visitor from the county. Qin Mian inwardly broke in chills but maintained his composure. This is a bit beyond our comprehension. Anyway, the Lei family has no authority and no influence, so there is nothing worth to be plotted about. Miss Wei used to be a competent maid in a rich family household, maybe she thinks differently from other people. That could be the case. Lei Xiongli and Lei Xiongji no longer wanted to bother about this. That afternoon, both Lei Xiongli and Lei Xiongji helped in the shop, which greatly relieved the pressure on Qin Mian and Lei Tie. The brothers were surprised to see that many people in the town brought their own bowls to eat spicy hot soup. In fact, many customers had suggested that Qin Mian and Lei Tie should expand their shop or change to a bigger one. However, they didn't have the opportunity. In addition, Qin Mian did not have the energy to expend for the time being, and the Lunar New Year was coming soon. Future matters should be put off until later. In the evening, the four people ate hot pot in the shop and went home together riding in the ox cart. Because today's food sold out fast, the sun had just set when they reached the village. Qin Mian let Lei Tie drove the ox cart all the way to the gate of the old house. He didn't deny that he wanted to see how Du Shi was making a fool of herself. In the old house, the meal was served on the table. Qin Mian came in with a basket of food. With a smile on his face, he called loudly, "Father, Mother, are you about to have dinner? It seems that we are back just in time. Tie Gerger and I have brought you a lot of food. Father and younger brothers can have some wine as well." Lei Tie carried a pot of soup in both hands and went in with him. Qin Mian motioned to Lei Tie to put the soup on the women's table and deliberately looked at Du Shi's face. "Mother, this is the hot pot soup in our shop that was cooked with big bones. It's very savory. I also brought back some meatballs, mutton, streaky pork, chicken meat, and fish fillets. It's very tasty when cooked in the soup." Lei Xiangji touched his chin and thought, why did it feel as if eldest sister-in-law came here to show off? He looked up into his eldest brother's eyes, which contained imperceptible pampering and indulgence, and could only shake his head helplessly. Qin Mian really had a mind to provoke Du Shi, so he generously brought back a lot of meat dishes this time, enough for the whole family to eat. Du Shi's eyes swept over the different meat dishes one by one, neither happy nor angry. For a long time, she did not utter a word. Qin Mian felt his anger had been vented off. Lei Xiangren knew that Lei Xiangli and Lei Xiangji had gone to Lei Tie's shop. He regretted that he had not gone with them. He quickly walked over and said, "Everything smells good. Wife, why don't you quickly go to the charcoal stove and get a clean pot? San Lang's wife, you go get the wine." "Ah!" Zhao Shi swallowed her saliva and turned to the kitchen. Qian Shi followed. Lei Daqiang coughed softly, "Wai Lang, have you and your wife eaten yet? If you haven't eaten, have some." Lei Tie said dully, "Already ate. Wife, let's go." "All right. Mother, Father, we're going back." Qin Mian waved his hand in a good mood and left with Lei Tie. Sitting on the ox cart, he couldn't resist humming a song. "In a good mood?" Lei Tie asked. So. Qin Mian continued to be happy and inadvertently said, "When Miss Wei joins the household, how about providing a hot pot to each table on the wedding banquet? Let the villagers see that even when we were forced to separate and live apart, we still care about the parents." Lei Tie held Qin Mian's hand and his chest felt warm as he said in a hoarse voice, "I'll listen to you." ******. After several days, Du Shi apparently continued to be silent. Qin Mian then stopped bothering about the old house anymore. On this day, after preparing all the ingredients in the back kitchen, Qin Mian went to open the shop. Lei Tie threw a look out of the door, neither intentional nor unintentional, wiped the water on his hands, and then walked over, neither too fast nor too slow. Qin Mian looked at the several people who seemed to be waiting outside the door for a long time, and felt suspicious. There were 3 people in total. One was a young man of 25 to 26 years old, dressed in a white cotton-padded robe with snow-white fox fur around his neck and a precious white jade hanging on his waist. He seemed like a rich young master. He looked at Qin Mian with a pair of narrow phoenix's eyes, which were full of inquisitiveness. On his left was a middle-aged man in early 40s dressed in grey and who looked like a household steward. On the right side of this young master was a youngster of about 17 to 18 years old, dressed up as a manservant. "Xiao Liuzi, Xiao Shunzi, go and greet the customers." Qin Mian called out from behind. "Coming." Zhang Lu quickly ran out, "Welcome, esteemed customers. Do you want to eat hot pot, spicy hot soup or barbecue?" The young master ignored him, glanced at Lei Tie and looked back at Qin Mian. "Are you the owner of this shop?" "Exactly," Qin Mian said with a faint smile. "If the young master didn't come to eat, please give way to the side so as not to block the other customers." The manservant glared, "How audacious!" Lei Tie frowned. Qin Mian harshly said, "You the one who's audacious. Your master hasn't spoken yet, but a servant like you dare to cut in the conversation. If you're my manservant, you'll be slapped on the mouth 20 times. The manservant's face changed greatly. He peered at his young master's face and quickly bowed his head. Zhang Lu looked at his boss admiringly. This young master had an extraordinary presence, and one look is enough to tell that he was very influential socially. However, the boss was not afraid at all. "Gentlemen, please give way to the side," Qin Mian urged. The young master took an interesting gaze at Qin Mian and sat down at the nearest table. "We'll be having hot pot." Zhang Lu seized the opportunity to open his mouth. "If you want to eat hot pot, please go into the shop. The table outside is for the customers who eat spicy hot soup and barbecue." The young master said again, "Oh, but it's cooler outside. In that case, we'll be eating spicy hot soup and barbecue." "Chun Sheng, you go and order." The manservant respectfully responded, "Yes, young master." After Qin Mian returned to the counter, LIAN also returned to the pot. "They're mostly here for the soup base's recipe," Qin Mian whispered to LIAN. LIAN said indifferently, "I'm here." The spicy hot soup and barbecue ordered by the young master were served. Qin Mian noticed that he and the middle-aged man first picked up a spoon of soup and drank it, tasting it carefully as if to distinguish the taste. They were not the first to do so. Qin Mian wasn't worried that they would determine the ingredients of the soup by tasting it. He used some seasonings that wasn't normally used, such as the Sichuan pepper, which had never been used as seasoning in this world before. Besides, the spiritual spring water that he added without anyone knowing had excellent effect on the flavor. "How was it?" the young master asked in light tone. The middle-aged man whispered, "This subordinate is ashamed to admit, but I can only taste 8 ingredients." The young master's eyes showed an expression of surprise. He did not say anything, and only then did he picked up his chopsticks and began to taste the food in the spicy hot soup. "Xiao Shunzi, it seems that there are many more workers in the town these 2 days. What's going on?" Qin Mian glanced at the 4 customers who were stained with dry mud and asked Wang Shun. It was not only eating savory restaurant which had a large flow of customers, but the business of other restaurants and noodle shops in the town was also better than before. Wang Shun said, "Small boss doesn't know? The water surface of the river decreases every autumn and winter. So, before it becomes frozen, the local authority will organize a great number of manpower to dredge up the Six Bends River. Those workers that went to the Six Bends River to dredge it up could earn at least 20 yuan a day. I did it last year." The Six Bends River was the largest river in the county, and the small river in the Green Mountain village was precisely its branch. "Oh?" Qin Mian quickly asked, "Is the Six Bends River far from here? How long will the dredging work last?" Wang Shun answered, "Last year, it lasted half a month or so. The Six Bends River is a little far away. It takes at least more than 30 minutes on foot." "What about the workers' lunch?" Qin Mian asked again. Wang Shun replied, "Most of them bring their own packed food. If they have a cart, they can come to the town to eat." Qin Mian's eyes twinkled. He squeezed to LIAN's side and whispered, "I have an idea on how to earn money." LIAN raised his eyebrows. His part of the work was actually not heavy. He only needed to put the dishes selected by the customers into the colander, poured them into the bowl after they were cooked, and then added soup, onion, and garlic to the bowl. "This idea is for those at the old house. Tell Lao San and Lao Si when we return home. As for whether they tell others about it, it's up to them." LIAN nodded and conveniently stroked Qin Mian's head. The young master looked up at the 2 people who were smiling at each other. He had planned to wait until there were only a few customers left before talking to the owner of the shop, but the shop was always full, so he had to get up and walk over. "Gentlemen, I'm Niheng from Zhaoyang County. Do you have time to talk? I'm interested in purchasing the recipe of your soup." LIAN looked at Qin Mian. Niheng also looked at Qin Mian. Qin Mian cupped one hand in the other towards Niheng and said, "It's our honor to be highly thought by young Master Nai. Since young Master Nai is so frank and honest, this one will speak bluntly. We have no plans to sell the recipe until the 5th month of next year. Young Master Nai looks like a smart man, so you must also understand that the demand for spicy hot soup and hot pot is dependent on the weather. His and LIAN's influence were weak. They never thought that they could monopolize the market for this forever. Nai Heng's furrowed brows relaxed. In other words, after the 5th month next year, Boss Qin and Boss Lei will sell the recipe. Qin Mian's pupils shrunk. The man had investigated him and Lei Tie. We have this intention but there is no specific plan yet, said Qin Mian. After much weighing and considering, Nai Heng said, in this case, I hope that the two bosses can give priority to me at that time. Qin Mian said with a faint smile, if Nai Gongzi set your mind on it, we'll see you on the 5th month next year. Nai Heng took a deep look at him and determined that this young man was not a simple person. Well, the man who was standing protectively beside this young man was certainly not a simple person. It would be my pleasure. Nai Heng kindly reminded, there might be others who had the same idea as me but might not necessarily be as magnanimous as me. It would greatly sadden me should the recipe falls into the hands of another. Lei Tie stood toweringly as he spoke with a steady but cold voice. His words were powerful and resonating like a sudden clap of thunder. They are welcome to try. Nai Heng nodded slightly. After signaling for his manservant to pay, he left with the manservant and the middle-aged man. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 53. Warning. When the ox cart drove into the village, Qin Mian took the rope from Lei Tie's hand and said to him, go invite San Lang and Si Lang to come to our house together. I'll tell them the details. Lei Tie nodded, lifted his long legs, and jumped easily from the still-moving ox cart. Several villagers followed him with curious eyes. The news about Lei Tie knowing martial arts had already spread widely. Such a person made them felt both respect and fear. Every day when he got home, the first thing Qin Mian did was to boil water for washing. Just when the firewood in the hollow of the stove just burned up, Lei Tie came back. San Lang and Si Lang also went to dredge up the river. They are having dinner, so they will come soon. Lei Tie took the firewood from Qin Mian's hands and sat down in front of the kitchen stove. The weather was becoming chilly and everything was ice cold. Qin Mian happily allowed him to help and put his hands back into his pockets. Will Erlang come as well? No. He knew it would be like that. Qin Mian disdained this person, Lei Xiangren. You didn't say anything to San Lang and Si Lang, did you? Lei Tie said, I just said that you're looking for them for something important. That's good. Qin Mian turned to open the cupboard and took out the tangerine peel, cinnamon, and other things to be ground later, weighed them one by one and put them aside. These ingredients should be ground before going to bed as they were to be used for the next day. The two did their own things respectively. Although there was no conversation, the atmosphere in the kitchen was quiet and warm. Degur, eldest sister-in-law, we came. Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli walked in one after another, both were shrinking their necks and hands in their sleeves. This damn weather is getting colder. You two came. Qin Mian was blunt with them, the water hasn't boiled yet, so I can't serve you tea. Go sit in the living room. Lei Xiangji sat down on the soft settee, felt it quietly before he sat upright and asked curiously, Degur said you are looking for us for something. What is it? Qin Mian sat on the settee. I heard from your Degur that you've been to the Sixpence River to dredge it up for the past 2 days? Are there many people going there? Lei Xiangji said, today is the 3rd day. There are a lot of people. Eldest sister-in-law probably doesn't know. The Sixpence River is wide and long, so the local authority hired many people to dredge up the river every year. It must have been hard work. Qin Mian asked again, with so many people, how are their lunches prepared? Basically, they bring their own dried food. The section of the river we are in charge of is a little far away from the town. The upstream is very close to the county town, but most people still bring their own dried food. Lei Xiongli vaguely guessed something. Why does eldest sister-in-law ask so? Qin Mian gave a small smile. I suddenly thought of an idea to make money while in the town today and wanted to tell you two about it. If you two are willing to do it, you can earn more than dredging up the river, and it will be easier than that. Lei Xiangli's eyes lit up and immediately said, "Of course I'm willing." "What's this idea?" Lei Xiangji also looked happy. "It's arduous standing barefoot in the water. Of course it's good to have a more effortless work." Qin Mian didn't beat around the bush. "My idea is that you can cook some hot soup and sell it at Six Bends River. Those workers stay in the water for so long every day and can only eat dried food at noon. There is nothing more comfortable than drinking hot soup when it's cold. You can borrow a cart, just bring a pot and firewood, and then buy some bones, radishes or potatoes in the town and stew them in the large pot. If you want to be generous, you can add some minced meat. Even if a bowl of soup is sold for only a wen, you can earn a lot of profit in a day." "That's a good idea." Lei Xiongji clapped his hands as he applauded and wished that it was dawn now, so he could drive the cart to the town right away. "Bones are cheap and won't cost more than a few wen. At most, we'll spend more on firewood, so the cost of making this soup isn't high. It's indeed profitable." Lei Xiongli couldn't help but be overjoyed. There are at least 400 to 500 people dredging up the river. Even if only 100 people are willing to spend money, we can still earn 100 wen. We still have 60 to 70 wen left after deducting the cost, right? Between the two of them, one wanted to save private money to provide for his wife and daughter, and the other wanted to save money for his marriage. Qin Mian's idea was more than just a timely help. Qin Mian said with a faint smile, "I told you two the idea. As for whether to tell others or not, it's up to you two." Lei Xiongji and Lei Xiongli were very clear that Qin Mian was not very fond of certain people in the old house, so they did not take offense. Lei Tie came out of the kitchen and sat down beside Qin Mian. "If one cart is not enough, borrowed another one. Go together with us every day, the ox cart can be lent to you. Just send it back before the shop closes." "Many thanks, Dagur and eldest sister-in-law." Lei Xiongli and Lei Xiongji expressed their gratitude in unison. Lei Xiongli hesitated for a moment and looked at Qin Mian. "Now there is no one selling soup by the river, but I think that once we go, it'll be hard to ensure that others will not to follow suit. By then, the soup will not sell unless it is better in taste. I know that there is a secret recipe for Dagur and eldest sister-in-law's soup. Is it possible for eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law to sell some of the prepared soup ingredients for us to add to our soup?" Qin Mian was a little surprised that Lei Xiongli would think so far ahead. He got a bit of a businessman's savviness. Lei Xiongji also gave Qin Mian a hopeful gaze. Qin Mian looked at Lei Tie. Lei Tie said with hesitation, "It's up to you." Qin Mian gave him a satisfied smile. Lei Xiongji and Lei Xiongli looked away from them in embarrassment. After Qin Mian thought about it, he nodded, "All right, but the seasonings are not easy to prepare. I can only sell you a small jar every day. You can pay me the cost price, which is 10 wen." Friendship was friendship, but business was business. Assuming an attitude of brothers settling accounts today could avoid future disputes between the two families over money. He and Lei Tie had a good relationship with Lei Xiongji and Lei Xiongli, so he didn't want to appear petty because of issue with certain interests in the future. Although he offered to pay, Lei Xiongli didn't expect Qin Mian to accept the money without even some token reluctance. He felt a little uncomfortable in his heart, but on second thought, the two families had been separated, thus they had better be clear when dealing with money so as to avoid future conflicts and create enmity between brothers. Besides, the idea of making money this way came from Qin Mian. He felt relieved after deliberating things this way. The two brothers were anxious to go back to discuss the details. They once again expressed their thanks to Qin Mian and Lei Tie, and made arrangement to go out together the next morning. After dawn, Qin Mian was not in the slightest surprised to see that Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli appeared together with Lei Xiangren, Zhao Shi, and Qian Shi. Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli's smiling expression looked a bit forced. It was impossible for them to hide such a big move from the others, and they had to get money from Du Shi to buy firewood and ingredients. Therefore, all the people in the old house knew that they are going to sell soup at the Sixpence River. The husband and wife pair of Lei Xiangren and Zhao Shi were fond of eating but were averse to work and liked to take advantage of others. Both Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli didn't want this couple to come with them. However, Lei Daqiang and Du Shi gave them a hard time about it, so they couldn't do anything about it. Qian Shi's expression looked even worse. She could see that between Lei Xiangren, her husband Lei Xiangli and Lei Xiangji, Degur and eldest sister-in-law preferred her husband Lei Xiangli and Lei Xiangji. The eldest sister-in-law's idea was obviously to help her husband and Si Lang. Lei Xiangren and Zhao Shi's involvement this time made her angry. At this time, the idea of separating their family in her mind was becoming stronger. If they were separated, the money earned this time would only be shared between Lei Xiangji and Lei Xiangli. It was unknown what Zhao Shi was thinking as she secretly glared at Qian Shi and Lei Xiangji from time to time. Qin Mian turned a blind eye to their secret motives and handed Lei Xiangli the small pottery jar that had been prepared for a long time. There was no spiritual spring water in the seasoning jar and only include 10 kinds of seasoning, but it was good enough. Qin Mian jumped onto the ox cart. Zhao Shi wanted to sit with him in the same cart to worm her way into being friends and then secretly see what's in the big jar on the cart. But Qin Mian had been on guard. As soon as he sat, he let Lei Tie drive away. Zhao Shi cursed secretly. She could only give up and return to the borrowed donkey cart. There were pots, stove, 2 baskets of bowls and chopsticks, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and other such items on the cart. The 2 carts left the village in the morning light. Qin Mian took out 2 hot bamboo tubes from his portable bag and handed one to Lei Tie. "For you. Use it to warm your hands first," said Lei Tie. "I'm not cold. I put on a lot of clothes today." Qin Mian twisted off the lid of the bamboo tube and handed it to him. He got up early today and cooked a small pot of batter soup on a charcoal stove. When the water boiled, he poured in flour and stirred with chopsticks. The mixture was brought to boil before adding minced meat and tender leaves of green vegetables. Then, the mixture was brought to boil again to pour the eggs and lastly added oil, salt, and a bit of hot pot seasoning. The method was simple, but the taste was delicious. As soon as he took a sip, he tasted the rich flavor and his stomach also warmed. The 2 of them held the same bamboo tubes as they drank the soup. When they got to the town, they could eat 3 or 4 steamed stuffed buns and that would be enough. Lei Xiangren and the others in the back saw it and also smelled the delicious aroma. They felt incessantly envious. Perhaps, it was not bad for Degur to marry this male sister-in-law. Lei Xiangli was deeply moved in his heart and inexplicably thought that his future wife would also have to treat him well. His face then turned hot and he let out a dry cough to shake off the charming thoughts. "Si Lang, what's the matter?" Lei Xiangren glanced at him and asked casually. "It's nothing." Lei Xiangli perfunctorily answered. Lei Xiangren tried to curry favor with Lei Tie. "Degur, how's your business recently?" Lei Tie dully responded, "Satisfactory." Lei Xiangren said with a smile, "Degur, why be modest? I heard that your shop is full of customers every day. You can earn at least 2 to 3 silver taels a day, right?" Qin Mian grinned, "What can our small shop be considered as? I heard that tasty and satisfactory vegetarian restaurant in the town is making a fortune every day. It's a pity no matter how much others earn, it's theirs. Bystanders can only envy them." Lei Xiangren recognized the implication of his words. He choked and glared at the back of Qin Mian's head. Despite that, he had to admit that Qin Mian was right. Thus he could only chuckle dryly. Lei Xiangji tried to dispel the situation. "Ergur, when we arrive in the town, we take separate action. You go to buy firewood, Lao Si and I will go to buy the ingredients. Firewood was cheap, so it was not cost-effective to drag firewood all the way from home to the town and then from the town to the river. Therefore, they planned to buy it directly in the town. End chapter. Minwei Chi Nan. Chapter 54. Will die if you don't take advantage of others. Sure. LIAN Gren said, after buying all the things, we'll meet at the entrance of the town. In the cart behind, Zhao Shi and Qian Shi whispered to one another. San Lang's wife, Zhao Shi touched Qian Shi's arm and whispered, eldest sister-in-law gave us a good idea this time. I dare say that we can earn a lot of money by selling soup. But it's a pity that we have to give it all to mother. Recalling the scene in the early morning when Du Shi counted the money for buying firewood and ingredients one by one before handing it over in Lei Xianggren's hand, Qian Shi felt uncomfortable. She knew that Zhao Shi wanted to stir her up about separating from the family, but she herself wasn't sure about it and thus only answered a non-committal and did not say anything else. Seeing that she was not taking the bait, Zhao Shi had no choice but to say, it would be great if we could also separate from the family. Qian Shi asked deliberately, who do you mean by we? Zhao Shi evaded the question. The truth was she was also feeling conflicted about it. She wanted to separate but also did not want to. If they separated, she could control the money at home, but the thought that separating from the family also meant separating from Lei Xiangji. Lei Xiangji's future was limitless. She was reluctant to give up this big tree. It would be nice if Lao San and Lao Si separated from the main family and Du Shi gave her the right to take charge of the family. It wouldn't be normal for her to still control her sons when she became too old. When Miss Wei joined the household, she wanted to see if Du Shi could still be so rampant. The more Zhao Shi thought about it, the farther her thoughts went and her eyes turned vacant. Qian Shi glared coldly at her and leaned on her knees to take a nap for a while. When they arrived at the town, the sun had just come out and the shadows grew long under the sunshine. The ox cart stopped in front of the shop. Lei Tie moved the newly bought vegetables and allowed Lei Xiangli to drive the cart away. Chen Si, the barbecue chef, came early and squatted at the side as he ate his breakfast of 2 steamed buns. Good morning, big boss, small boss. Qin Mian nodded to him, good morning. Don't worry, Dagur. I'll buy some fodder on the way. I won't let the ox starve. Lei Xiangli said. It's the first time we've come to eldest sister-in-law's shop. Zhao Shi hinted at Qin Mian while her eyes floated on the closed shop's door. Yet. Lei Xianggren chimed in and said with a flattering smile, eldest brother, your shop. Lei Tie steadfastly stood on his ground as he indifferently said, it's late. Lei Xianggren and the others had to drive the carts to leave. That husband and wife really suited each other. Qin Mian took out the key to open the door as he shook his head. You don't have to mind them. Lei Tie didn't care about them very much. If other people had a bad thought, he could deal with them. Are you two the owners of the shop? An old voice sounded uncertainly from behind them. Qin Mian looked back and saw an old man over 60 years old standing not far away with a bent waist and looked a little uneasy. That's right, Qin Mian said suspiciously, Uncle, what can we do for you? The old man rubbed his hands and said, I'm Zhang Liu's father. Xiao Lu was beaten last night. He asked me to tell you that someone was forcing him to say something about the recipe. Chen Si stopped chewing and inwardly considered himself lucky that he lived near, so nothing happened to him last night. Qin Mian's expression changed greatly as he looked at Lei Tie. The light in Lei Tie's eyes turned cold. Without waiting for him to open his mouth, a young man that looked simple and honest came from the distance. Boss Lei, Boss Qin, you two are here, my younger brother has been beaten. Qin Mian took over the other's word. The man was stunned and nodded, yes. It was already very late and yet he haven't returned home, so I came out to find him and discovered him lying on the roadside, injured. He's still unconscious. Qin Mian's face sank. He was furious, but he did not lose his cool. He took out his money pouch and fished out 4 silver ingots to give 2 for each person. Uncle Zheng, Wang Xiang, this matter happened because of us. We're truly sorry. Take the money and bring Zheng Lu and Wang Shun to see a physician. By the way, I'd like to ask you to bring them a message from me. They should take their time to heal their wounds and come back to work when they get well. We'll solve this matter. It really cost a lot of money to see a physician. Zheng Liu's father and Wang Shun's older brother hesitated before taking the money. Wang Shun's older brother said, "It is Shun Zi's blessing to meet employers like you two. You two can rest assured, I'll bring the message to him." Many thanks. Knowing that Zheng Liu's father and Wang Shun's older brother had walked away, Qin Mian was so angry that he kicked the vegetable basket. What the hell? This is outrageous. Lei Tie held him. Don't hurt yourself. I'll solve this. Open the door first. Qin Mian opened the door and sat down on the stool. How are you going to solve it? Rest assured. Lei Tie said, I'm going out for a bit. Well, be careful. Qin Mian hadn't perfected his martial arts yet. Even if he went out with Lei Tie, he couldn't help much. He could only charge him with the task. Lei Tie looked around, the shops nearby are open, people come and go, you don't have to be afraid. What should I be afraid of? Qin Mian was amused, go quickly, you must teach them a lesson. Lei Tie nodded and left in a hurry. Qin Mian took a look at Chen Si, who had never said a word. Chen Si, are you afraid? Chen Si returned to his senses and laughed. He swallowed up the steamed bun in his hand and moved the vegetable basket into the shop. Small boss, I'm not actually. Our surname Chen is also a known name in the town. What should I be afraid of? But now, those people should know that only you and Big Boss have the seasoning recipe in our shop. The small boss hat fastened on Qin Mian's head could not be taken off anymore. His statement was logical, so Qin Mian nodded, in case someone comes to you in the future, you can go ahead and push it onto mine and the Big Boss head. Since the opening of the shop, he and Lei Tie handled the seasonings of the hot pot, spicy hot soup and barbecue in person. The 3 staffs in the shop Zheng Lu, Wang Shun and Chen Si did not know the recipe. Don't worry, small boss. Chen Si said, however, since Xiao Lu and Shunzi can't come, I'm afraid we don't have enough manpower today. Qin Mian had made arrangement, when the grocery store opens, I'll ask Boss Zhou to borrow his shop assistant for a bit. Boss Zhou was the owner of the grocery store next door. Chen Si curled his lips, Boss Zhou should be willing, but he'll definitely make you write out a salary. There's no other way. Qin Mian was helpless. Xiao Liuzi and Xiao Shunzi must have been hurt badly. They have to rest for at least a month and a half. When your big boss comes back, I'll go to the brokerage and hire a temporary worker. No longer chatting, Chen Si skillfully trimmed and washed the vegetables. Meanwhile, after Qin Mian stewed the big bone soup, he began to chop the meat. About 2 hours later, Lei Tie came back. Qin Mian looked him up and down. His expression was normal and his clothes were neat, as if he had just gone for a walk. How about it? It's solved. Qin Mian doubted, all solved. Chen Si looked over curiously. Lei Tie nodded. How did you solve it? Qin Mian questioned closely. Lei Tie didn't speak and only sat down to shape the meatball. You chopped the meat. How did you actually solve it? Qin Mian's heart seemed to have a cat's paw scratching on it. He was very curious. Lei Tie still didn't speak. Qin Mian stared at him discontentedly. Since the man didn't want to say it, he also didn't want to waste his breath. He turned to wash his hands. I'm going to the brokerage to hire a temporary worker and a long-term worker. Chen Si was puzzled. Small boss, didn't you just say you will only hire a temporary worker? Look at the pitiful state of your big boss, both of his hands are smoked white. I'll hire someone to cook the spicy hot soup. Qin Mian teased. Chen Si admiringly said, Big boss and small boss have a good relationship, just like blood brothers. Qin Mian stiffened. Lei Tie glanced at Chen Si coldly. Chen Si shuddered. What did he say wrong? Lei Tie opened his mouth, he's my. Lei Tie. Qin Mian whooshed over and covered the man's mouth. It was the first time he found that his speed was so fast, it was almost comparable to Qing Gong. /Note, King Kong Lightfoot Skill, a martial art skill / Lei Tie raised his hand and touched Qin Mian's face. He didn't say anything more and continued to shape the meatball. Only then did Qin Mian let him go. He gave the man a warning look and went out with his hands clasped behind his back, head held high and chest out. Chen Si glanced at the minced meat on Qin Mian's face and turned his head to snicker. The new staff, Shi Tou, was very simple and honest person. He was a bit slow to react, but he was diligent, energetic, and didn't talk much. His joining made this day's business not affected by the absence of Zheng Lu and Wang Shun. Lei Tie didn't have to cook spicy hot soup anymore. Thus, when there were few customers, he sat at the counter with Qin Mian and helped to carry the dishes or collected money when there were many customers. When there were few customers, Qin Mian went to the pastry shop diagonally opposite them and bought 2 kinds of pastry, which were divided into 2 parts. When the sun was in the west, Lei Xiangren and the others drove in the carts and appeared with happy expressions. Degur, eldest sister-in-law, we are back. Lei Xiangren yelled from afar. Qin Mian really wanted to strangle him. His dagger eyes flew over with a whoosh. Fortunately, the customers in the shop didn't realize that the address of eldest sister-in-law was meant for him. Lei Xiongli smacked Lei Xiangren and warned him, don't address eldest sister-in-law in front of outsiders. Lei Xiangren suddenly realized, oh, I understand. He parked the donkey cart on the side of the road, cheerfully walked into the shop and approached the counter with a mysterious look. Degur, guess how much we made today? Lei Tie dismally took up a brush to write. He was not interested in guessing. Qin Mian casually asked, how much? Lei Xiangren laughed, 203. Lei Zionji grinned from ear to ear as he said, we've calculated. We made a net profit of 160 when after subtracting the cost of firewood and the ingredients. Not bad, not bad. Congratulations. Qin Mian cupped his hands as he congratulated them. Zhao Shi looked greedily at the hot pot that the others were eating. We've been busy for most of the day and nearly starved to death. Husband, let's have something to eat in eldest brother's shop. Yet. Lei Xiangren said with a smile, the food in eldest brother's shop is delicious. Qin Mian also smiled, you can choose whatever you want to eat. Vegetable dishes cost a wen, meat dishes 2 wen. Hot pot is more expensive and you have to wait a little longer. I'll give you a 20% discount since it's your first visit. Lei Xiangren looked at him in astonishment, we're your own brothers, he deliberately didn't finish. Qin Mian smiled more brilliantly as he got closer, you all go pick the dishes first. Lei Zionji and Lei Xiongli felt embarrassed. Lei Zionji looked at Lei Xiangren with disapproval, Ergur, what are you trying to say? I'm not wrong. Eldest sister-in-law is too scrupulous. Lei Xiangren reproached Qin Mian with dissatisfaction. Qin Mian sneered. He had seen the meaning of burnt the bridge after crossing it. However, he said nothing more and counted money with a happy smile. The coppers fell into the money box and the clanking sound was very pleasant to hear. He was not anxious, not at all. Qian Shi suddenly realized and got close to Lei Zionji and whispered, husband, we have to pay and tomorrow we still have to buy the seasoning. She deliberately let Lei Xiangren hear her words. Lei Xiangren paused, lightly hummed, and said with a forced smile, yet, even blood brothers clearly have to settle accounts. He glanced at Qin Mian obliquely and walked to the wooden shelf to pick up dishes. Do you have an illness that you need to be smug whenever something good happen? Qin Mian wanted to step on his Lei Xiongren's face. Lei Xiongji and Lei Xiongli looked at each other with a sigh and went to pick dishes. Qin Mian hooked his finger towards Lei Tie, signaling him to get closer. Lei Tie walked a few steps to him. Qin Mian pressed his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Fortunately, you ran away from home when you were 12 years old. Otherwise, if you grow up to be as thick-skinned as he is, I'll have to step on your face to make it thin." Lei Tie lightly blurted out an ah, and helplessly shook head. "Just 4 meatballs for 2 wen." Zhao Shi picked dishes while grimacing and her spittle flying over. 2 wen can buy a large piece of meat. The vegetable dishes are also expensive, 5 leaves cost a wen. End chapter.